Hey everyone, I just wanted to make this video for you guys so that way you kind of understand the ins and outs of the D2L virtual classroom for CCC Online. So I'm logged into Environmental 101. So I just want to kind of give you an overview of this. So when you are on the course homepage, it will give you these announcements. Then you'll have some links on the right-hand side. And these links, if you look through them, you can look at the tutoring. So if you need tutoring for this course, it is offered here. If you have any technical issues, like something isn't uploading or something isn't working in the D2L system, you can go to the help desk. And then when you first log into the course, there was a pop-up that should have come up and it should have said, hey, you need to order your lab kit, and you need to fill that out to make sure that your lab kit gets to you. It is not automatically ordered for you. You have to put in a physical address in the pop-up, and then once the drop date has passed, the lab kit will be ordered for you, but they do need a physical address. You cannot use a PO box. If you miss that pop-up, there will be a link here. Obviously, I'm recording this video after one of my courses has already started, but there will be a link here that says lab kit. The other thing that you can do is you can actually go to CCC Online Lab Kit Ordering, and you can actually go to the frequently asked questions. So how do I receive my lab kit? And it tells you what you should find and what you should be looking for. When do I get it? And there's all these questions that you can click on and get answers. So that's where you go if you need to find out things about your lab kit. So the next thing I want to show you is the announcements. So I'm viewing this as a student, and whenever you, as I said before, whenever you log into the course, you'll have the announcements here. Now, the announcements is one of only two ways that I can communicate with you. I can communicate with you through email, only in D2L, and through the announcements. So the announcements, it's imperative that you read them. So for instance, like on this particular feed, you can go up and down. Like I've given resources for this discussion board to help with the discussion board. I have helpful things to go over that will help you with assignments, videos for things that students might be struggling with, due dates. I always post the Sunday, the week before they're due. So I tell you like, hey, this is due on this day. Don't forget to, do this. So it's very, very important that you read these. Now, let's say that you need to go back and view an announcement that happened at the beginning, towards the beginning of the course. Like let's say you're in week 5 and you want to see something that was in week 1. You just click on the announcement button that was on the course homepage, and it will take you here. And then you can just scroll down and see, all the old ones. So like see, for instance, in lab 2, there were a lot of people that were having trouble calculating things. So I had to make an announcement with calculation help. So this is a communication tool that I use, and a lot of people, they just kind of bypass the announcements. Don't do that. You need to be able to read them and use that information to help you with your assignments and your discussion boards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my professor view because I want to show you some things about the labs and your quizzes. So the first thing that you should do whenever you log in is hit content and then go to the Start Here page. And this tells you how to set up your D2L email. This is really, really important because this is the second way that I communicate with you. I send emails to students all the time through D2L. The important thing to remember is that if you try to send me an email through your even your school, like, you know, Front Range CCCS email, it will not come to me. I only get emails through D2L. So it's important that you set this up. So whenever you click on this link, it'll tell you how to do it. And then whenever you have messages, you'll check this little letter up at the top. If you have a message, it'll have like a little orange circle, kind of like this one does, and you'll just click on it. So now let's say that you want to send me an email, you have a question about an assignment. So you click on class list and you will scroll down to my name and you'll just hit send internal message, and the message will pop up and you'll just type and then hit send. And you can drop files and attachments as well if you need to. So that's the second most important thing besides the announcements, is using the D2L email. I've had lots of students who tried to email me outside of D2L, like they used a Gmail account, or they used, like I said, even your school email doesn't work. And the problem is that it does not alert me that you tried to send me an email, and it also doesn't alert you. It doesn't bounce back to you and say, hey, this email didn't go through. I don't know why, but it just, goes off into the ether. So there's a lot of angry emails sometimes from students who are like, I've been trying to contact you for weeks. And it's like, well, did you use D2L? If you didn't, then I haven't been getting them. Okay, so make sure you use the D2L email. All right, the next super important thing is to review the syllabus. This is going to give you your information, your course materials, and your schedule. So the schedule is super important because that contains all of the due dates. So for this course, you have all the due dates here. Now your discussions, some people think that there's only one due date for the discussion, and that is not true. Your initial post that you post to the discussion board is always due by Wednesday. Okay, if you submit it past Wednesday, it's subject to a late penalty. And then you have 3 peer replies that are due by Sunday. However, you want those 3 peer replies to be on 3 separate days. We'll look at the rubric in just a second. You do not want to make all your peer replies on Sunday because you're not showing participation throughout the discussion. So I just want that to be really clear, because I end up having a lot of students who will only post on Sunday and they lose a lot of points because it's not showing participation throughout the week. Okay, so there's your course schedule. The next important thing is, how do you access your eText? So when you log in, or when you go to content, there will be this button here that says Pearson MyLabs eText. You'll want to click on that, and then your eText is right here. So whenever you click your eText, it will, it takes a minute to pop up because it has to populate a lot of materials. Come on. There we go. So it'll go into the chapter. You can go to the menu and go to, any part of the chapter that you want to go to. If you need to skip around and do chapter 7, you can do that. And it will, whenever you want to turn the page, you just hit the buttons and go through it and read it like you would normally. I'm not sure what the study button does. That's interesting. I don't think I've seen this before. This must be a new feature. So yeah, so you can look through that if you want to. And then we do have quizzes. You get quizzed on every chapter in the textbook, chapters 1 through 23. So let's look at how to get to those quizzes. So if we go back to content, there's 2 ways that you can do it, but the way that I'm going to show you is the easiest way, and it's the way that I highly recommend. So let's say you got through reading chapters 1 and 2. So you would go into module 1 and you would look on the right-hand side. You have discussions, labs, and chapter reading questions or quizzes. you would click on that, and then there's your quizzes. And so let's say you want to take quiz 1. I highly recommend that you take the quizzes right after you finish the reading so that the information is fresh in your mind. Now this quiz date has already passed, so it's not letting, there will be a button that says take quiz, and you'll select it, but because this has already passed, it's not showing me that. So that's how you get to your quizzes. Okay, we're going to go back to course, whoops, wrong one, content. There we go. Let's talk about labs next. So here's your labs. So whenever you want to find them, you just go into, whatever module you're in and click labs. And so looking at lab number 1, right, you have a list of materials that you need. And then there's a link to the instructions and the lab report. So whenever it says HOL supplied materials, these are the materials that are supplied by the lab kit. However, this is lab 1, so you don't have your lab kit. You won't have your lab kit until lab 3. So these are things that you have to get yourself. So when you want to open the lab report, you will just click on the link. It'll take you to some documents that are in a Google Drive. And what you'll want to do is download these documents. So some of you might have a Windows computer, some of you might have an Apple computer. What you can do is you can click on the document to open it, and you can go to File, and you can download it as any one of these files. I wouldn't download it as a PDF because you can't edit PDFs unless you have a PDF editor. So I would download it as a .docx file. And then you can, edit the report. And then, you can even edit it directly in here if you want to. And then you can go back to File, right? And you can download your completed report as either a doc or a PDF. After you're done editing, I would save it as a PDF file. Those are a lot easier to upload in D2L, but it's up to you. So this is your lab report. So this is what you actually fill out and submit as your assignment. And throughout the report, I give you kind of helpful hints about some things. And the type of graphs that I want, and you have some analysis questions to answer, and then conclusions and reflections, and then listing sources. So this part, the outside sources part, you are going to have to do some research on all of these labs, and use in-text citations for where you use those references. So you'll have like a reference list here, and then in-text citations throughout the report. And I have another video that shows you how to do that if you're not familiar with that. So this is just your report, and then your instructions are here. So typically the lab instructions will kind of give you background information about the lab, and then it will give you instructions on how to complete the lab. Now I have edited these because some of it isn't needed for this class, or doesn't apply to what we're doing. So it's gonna be marked up, and that's okay. All right, so next up is how do you submit it? So let's say you get all done, okay? Your lab 1 report is done, and it's awesome. It's the best lab report ever. So you will come to the button that says assignment, and you will click on it. And this is where you'll submit. Now, my students have already submitted this, so the button's not here to attach it, but this is where you would do it. Okay, so let's look at the rubrics. So the rubrics is what I use to grade your assignments. So you can look at the rubrics as well. So you just go to more tools and then click rubrics. And let's look at the discussion, or let's actually look at the lab rubric. Okay, so for each part of the lab report, there is a criteria that has to be graded. So for instance, looking at the purpose, you know, this is what you would have to do in order to score an excellent, and it's worth 3 points. This is what you would have to do for an excellent hypothesis, data table and graphs. So each part of the lab report is represented here. So I always tell my students to use this as a checklist. Have this open while you are reviewing your lab report. So that way you can be like, yep, I have my purpose. Oh, wait, I forgot my hypothesis. I need to put that in there. So that way you don't forget anything. And you're also, you know, you're seeing the guidelines for what I'm looking for. And of course, if you ever have any questions, just, you know, reach out and through email and I can help you with no problem. Okay, so we covered lab reports, we covered quizzes, we covered the e-text. So now let's look at the discussions. So for discussions, there's multiple ways that you can see the discussion. You can click on discussions in the module, and it will give you an overview of the discussions. Okay, discussions only open Mondays at 12. So if you're trying to submit a post before then, it won't let you. You won't be able to open it. And so these have already ended, but you can see them ahead of time. So that way, if you want to work ahead, you can. I would just save it into a document, and then you can just copy and paste it. The important thing about discussions is that you are answering questions, but you need to kind of view them as like miniature essays. So for instance, in this particular discussion, you're talking about like what plagiarism is and science denial, and it tells you use 4 to 5 academic references with in-text citations. So what that means is that you have to do outside research in your posts and use in-text citations to support that. So the next thing is that you have to do 3 peer replies that contains outside sources. So if you look here, it says, please respond to 3 different peer posts throughout the week. So not all on Sunday, with feedback that contains outside sources. So outside sources is like websites, journal articles, videos that can either be supporting the ideas that you are presenting or that challenge your peers' ideas. So for instance, I had a student this week who was talking about artificial intelligence, and somebody was saying that it wasn't safe for like a certain kind of technology. So I had a student who responded to that person, and they found like 2 articles from the internet from reputable sources. It can't be from, you know, rando places that are not credible. But he had found 2 resources and said, look, you know, I see what you're saying, but like these sources don't, you know, the evidence doesn't support that what you're talking about. And so they had like a nice civil debate about it with that. So the other way you can get to discussions is clicking on discussions, and that will give you a view of all of them so that you can see what each module has. Okay, the quizzes button, there's nothing there. So don't go there for your quizzes, because there's nothing. And then assignments, that's just going to show you what assignments we have in the course. Okay. All right. So just to recap really quickly, make sure you always read the announcements. Always check your D2L email and email me through D2L, so that way we can communicate. And I look forward to continuing with all of you and getting to know you better and helping you learn more about environmental science.